From just about my earliest recollection, my earliest memories of life, I can remember as a child that we went to church routinely, that was part of the life experience. We went 3 times a week, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and Wednesday evening services. And once I got to a certain Sunday school age and they're telling stories, I was somebody that had a lot of curiosity. There's a lot of us out there that have this sort of something different going on, that you would just keep asking questions. You couldn't see it in your mind. What about this? What about that? I can remember my Sunday school teacher and other youth instructors along the way at various points in time telling me, at some point you just have to stop asking questions and have faith. You just have to believe. We don't know. I mean, go pray to God and ask God for guidance and help and understanding. That's weird stuff. We don't really know. There's a point where you're asking questions of people that are telling you to get on your knees and pray and believe in this, and you're asking things about it and they're telling you, just believe it. I don't even know. I don't understand it myself. And you know what? That was not okay for me ever. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. That's what I want to do here, is go back and ask those questions. Who are the sons of God that went down and raped and had sex with the daughters, these little girls on earth that created monsters? How come Noah was naked and drunk after the flood and his sons had to come and cover the poor guy up? Oh my gosh. How come Abram, God's chosen, is so afraid that he gives his wife up to Pharaoh under the guise that it's his sister? Pharaoh didn't know any. They're fooling Pharaoh. Pharaoh has sex with her and likes it so much, he gives Abram slaves and animals. And then when God finally intervenes and goes, I'm going to punish him with plagues. How long do plagues take? I'm going to gradually punish him over the years until Pharaoh gets it. And then when Pharaoh realizes, you lied to me, he's the good guy. He tells them, take your slaves, your animals, everything I gave you. Take your wife that you told me was your sister. You lied to me, and get out of here, all of you. Okay, I'm a kid asking how, why, and they're like, don't ask questions. You still ask today. You know what? If you find videos on people explaining those, it's embarrassing. For anybody who's going to jump in right now and say that the Bible does not say that they had sex, when we're going to get into this and look through it, what we're going to see is that that's not the only incident. There was a 3-stage incident from Abraham, and then Isaac as offspring of the same sort of action with iterations along the way. In stage number 2, the act was stopped. It's very deliberately said in there that before anything happened, God intervened so that that whole union didn't take place. We infer then that in the first place, since he got goods, all of his goods and everything, and Pharaoh was so happy, that obviously Pharaoh did have sex with her. And when we go to interpret this later, this is going to be something that interprets. If we look at it as history, ouch, we need to interpret this, or else when people ask you, where do you get your values from? I look at this and go, well, I can see where you get yours from, but I'm not like that. I'm sorry. I'm not like that. Something's going on here. I don't see a reason to look at that and go, this is something to worship here. No, I see something perverted there. Now, before I go on, I'm going to tell you right up front, I am not a Christian, and I am not a militant atheist that is going to come and dump all over. What I am doing is trying to understand that there was something nested in here for us to understand. And what is that? I don't care what other people believe. I'm going to contend that the religion itself is the carrier, the ark, the mechanism that's bringing that template. I want the template. So there are people that believe the religion that are going to be unhappy with the idea that there's something else in there that they don't quite have access to. Let me be clear about this. People have been studying this Bible their entire lives and don't know this is there. Suddenly, it's like that's never been there. It isn't there now. So you have to be the right person to see it, and it is there. And the interest here is really to expose it, nothing else, to find the path in, to find what the ancients sent us in the material. At the same time, I need to explain some things in the Bible that don't make any sense to me, and when I was a kid was told don't. I went and found, there's that Buddha story. Without going into great detail, I will also say that this material was being used, my brother and I, my brother Larry, he was 11, I was 9, at a point in time in life where we were quite abused as children. My biological father used to burn us with cigarettes, and we were getting whipped, beat, told, you're dumb, never amount to anything. At the age of 11, my brother, after Sunday school, learned extensively about heaven and thought that as soon as he died, he would go. And that day he took a rope and went in the woods and hung himself so that he could go to heaven because he wanted to leave earth behind. And I was there still. I found him and cut him down. There's something that very deeply drives me that I want people to know, that if you kind of put me down, you're up against something you don't really know. I'm not going to tolerate aggressive Christians and atheists. Okay, there's something in here that we're looking for. Everybody chill. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, what I'm going to do is, let's go talk through those. And what I'm going to do is suggest that there is something in there that is a verbal nested message. When people read it as face value or the inerrant word of God, you might as well be reading fables and saying animals and plants used to talk to each other and those are true. There's nothing else there. You know what? These have something in them. There's reasons for those to be there, but if you're going to treat them like they're historical, you might as well go read Aesop's fables and worship a cat or a tortoise or whatever, Yeah, exactly. Now that's going to sound tough to some people, but if you don't ask the questions, you won't get answers. How do you explain a monotheism where this God has sons that come down and rape the very people that God created? And it's their fault, so I'm going to flood it. Something has to be explained to me as a kid to understand that story. And if you can't explain it to me in a way that makes me go, oh, okay, I get it, I'm going to treat it like, here's something else that we're going to understand about us that are doing this sort of thing. We're going to be naturally on a path that we can recognize in a Buddha story. When Buddha first started on his path, he went and learned and learned and learned. He went everywhere he could until he learned what they had and said, you don't have my answer. And he went off somewhere else. To me, what seems to be a normal path, because I've talked to other people doing the same thing. You go, well, I want to know what it's about. What have you got? Teach me everything. I ask until people start going, I don't know. At some point, you have to have faith. I'll do the same thing as I go off into Buddhism, Taoism, other things. It doesn't take long before people are going, I don't know. And you know that there's something different in there. I look through the Bible and I see patterns in here that people that read this and study it and worship God don't see. I look in here and I go, can't you see those number sequences? Can't you see these patterns of names? Can't you see the development of what's going on in there? Can you see how Cain dies, becomes Tubal, and then later we get Tubal Cain showing up? Do we see Ham, who then later we have Abram, and then in a combination we have Abraham? That this combination of names keeps happening and people don't see those things going on. And I do, and I go, what is that stuff? Something is sequencing in there. So that's what I've gone after on my own, because people that know this don't know that. They don't. So what I'm going to do is just read through the stories. I'm not going to do any counting in this or anything like that. We're just going to go through and read these stories at face value and talk about them as if they are at face value, and just say here, when people don't interpret it and say it's the inerrant word of God, let's go see what that sounds like. And then let's do something that we're supposed to do. Let's spend some time trying to interpret it to see how it becomes mentally interactive. Okay, I'm going to read from two different versions here. I've got a King James version and an NRSV. And it is actually in the Bible, it is chapter 6. It's a very short chapter. This just goes from a lineage to boom, the world went bad, time for a flood. So it's like a very quick step in a template process. I will tell you that right now, that it is a step in a template process. Now, let's read it like it's not a step like that. Let's read it like it's true. The world is all created, and men begin to multiply in the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. Okay, so the population is growing then, and there are daughters. Well, obviously, there's got to be sons, daughters, wives, men. There's got to be all kinds of things, all right? So obviously, but they're pointing out daughters very specifically. Okay, the sons of men, we don't know what happened to them, but the daughters, here's what happens. The sons of God, okay, we right here go from a monotheism to something that sounds a whole lot different. Sons of God is plural in heaven. You can't slice that any other way. That is not a monotheism. Saw the daughters of men. So these, if they're there, that means God is out there, has sons who saw that the daughters, they look at earth and go, hey, those are good looking ladies, aren't they? And so they took wives of all that they choose. Sounds all that they choose. It doesn't sound like women got a choice. Hey, you, I'm choosing you, you're mine. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God, there's the non-monotheism again, came in unto the daughters of men. Okay, what is that saying? They impregnated, they had sex with. The sons of God had sex with the daughters of men, and they had children. They bare children. The same became mighty men that were of old and men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great. So all of this going on must be wicked. So God's own sons are down there screwing women on the planet, creating a bad situation that God has to destroy. Sunday school teacher, how come that is? Oh, Danny, stop asking questions. Just try to ask God to help you understand it. Yep, okay, time to move on. Let's read it in the NRSV. When people began to multiply in the face of the ground, and daughters were born unto them, sounds the same. And the sons of God saw that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves of all that they chose. Nothing different. God has sons that come down and say, I'm, you. Line them up, ladies. Slap them on the ass. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in mortals forever, for they are flesh. Their days shall be 120 years. So God is just, what the heck is going on? I just announced it. Your days are going to, something weird. This is going to have to be interpreted again. Okay. The Nephilim, so they've identified them. The Nephilim, these are the giants were on the earth in those days. And also afterward, when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans. There we go again. So the sons of God impregnated, had their way with the beautiful daughters of humans, who then gave birth to these giant creatures that were the heroes that were of old, the warriors of renown. And the Lord saw that the wickedness of humans was great in the earth. Aren't those his sons that caused that? Okay. Teacher, what does that mean? Oh, Danny, stop asking so many questions and sit down. Yeah, and then you listen to people try to explain that as if it really happened. Okay, so what I'm going to suggest, and this is after much research, and you're just going to have to kind of maybe go along for the ride on this or think about it yourself. This is something you have to come to on your own. That from antiquity, there is a common core teaching that is about human healing, about how to examine yourself, how you came about as a person, how you became hurt, and how to self-examine to improve the quality of your life, to feel better now. There is a packaging carrier, the religion itself, that says if you hang on to this, just hang on. After you die, it'll be okay. So there's this idea that after you die, everything will be all right. But I have something to say. You're going to be dead. How do you know? You don't. You go for the best. Here's what I'm going to suggest. If you can look at this Bible, see the patterns, and start understanding there's something in there that creates interactive steps for right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to hold the Bible and say, I'm just going to believe this until I'm dead. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, hey, I see a template in here that has something in there for me right now. I am going after that right there. That's it. Period. I'm not going after the religion, the beliefs, the theist, the atheist, or anything. I see a template that is for me. That's what I want. The template for me. I don't care about anybody else and what they want to fight over. I want to know what that template is for me. That's what it's there for. It's a human life template. What is hidden in these is the stages of a human life nested in fantastical stories to carry it, that if you look at, you have to go, if that's true, you can't explain it. That's a supernatural occurrence that you just have to go, well, the Bible says it. The Bible is not the only place that has this template. It's shared throughout antiquity. The Bible is carrying the template in a religious genre of story as opposed to a mythological genre of story. So the religion and the mythology look different, but they're both going to be built on the same template. Okay? If we see Jason and the Argonauts sailing through the clashing rocks, that's the same place in the template where Moses and the Israelites escaped through the Red Sea. We're going to see patterned conceptual ideas in these stories, and that is what we're looking for. When we're looking at this story right here, we have to understand that it is carrying something at a conceptual level for me. It is not a true story. You look at it and go, oh my God, really? If you interpret it in a certain way, you go, okay, if I can buy what that interpretation is, what that's doing is telling me how I came about. This is a lesson for me. Let's try to look at it that way and see what emerges. Now, there are different ways of carrying a spiritual teaching. You might hear something as simple as you need to let it go. That you have to let whatever is hurting you, it continues to hurt you. You're living through it. You're carrying it with you. It's over and done with. But guess what? You can't get out of it. You have to let it go in order to escape it. Fundamentally, we know that. Well, how does it work? It doesn't happen, does it? I want to let it go. How come it's stuck? So what happens in the material then is that there starts becoming a more elaborate process in something like this. What is going to emerge from here in this Jewish material is a mental hierarchy. That the male is the conscious, the female is the subconscious. The offspring are the qualities that we have accumulated along the way. The story plays out in the psyche of each individual. I become representative parts of, all of the parts in the story are parts of my psyche, or parts of who and what I am. Those beautiful daughters of men, what are those? Those are my early life qualities before they have been corrupted. Those are my innocence, my joy, my outlook, my non-judgment. I'm a little kid playing in a sandbox. There's two radically different moms over there. One of them is, eating chips and drinking beer and all over the place. And the other one is, fancy and I don't even know. Those are bad correlations. You might look at that as an adult and go, I'm going to make some judgment calls about what I see here. As a kid, you don't give a damn. They both give you Twinkies. You love them both equally. Okay, those are the beautiful daughters of man right there, but they get corrupted. And what happens to them? Creatures emerge from them. The Nephilim that were on the planet then and are there today. Why? Because they are us. They are the anger. They are the demons in our closets. They are the skeletons in our closet, the demons that possess us. What the Nephilim represent is that same thing. That's the creature that emerges from us that has been corrupted from, well, it says the sons of God. The God is, we're going to have to get away from supernatural. God is the higher awareness. God is life itself. God is the cosmos that we emerge from. When we're having life experiences, if you judge it in a good way, oh, that just happened bad, but I'm going to let it go. That's the Son of God going into, or not, the beautiful daughters of women. If you have a situation happen and you go, God, I hate that. I'm ashamed. I don't like that. I'm hurt. I'm going to carry this pain. That is the creation of a Nephilim that is created because the Son of God, a decision was made at a higher level that created this creature, and it's going to have to be destroyed. So as we begin to look at these right here, this is actually the very last step, this chapter right here. There's a lineage, and then Noah picks up. Noah is the calling. Noah is the first of a self-healing process. When we get to Noah and naked, we're going to find out, oh, that's a good thing. The sons are the bad thing. They're the ones covering up their naked father. Naked was a good place to be. Drunk was he was feeling good. He was feeling good in his new life and uncovered. And what did they do? They covered him up. We have to unwind these analogs and make sure that they're not plain language, that they exist somehow in the spiritual, or it's a mental process, mentally interactive. Okay. So as we look at this, then we realize, well, what's happening is that the beautiful daughters of men have been corrupted. That's our inner self. I was once happy. Now I'm angry. I'm lashing out. We can see that in the world today. People that's the Nephilim. I'm angry. I hate you this, you that. You people all over the place, those are the Nephilim right there. They were on the earth then and they're here today. And where do they come from? They come from the corruption of our own inner selves. If you're on a healing path, you need to know that that's how we come about, and we're trying to extract ourselves from that. However, if you are on this healing path, you are probably an introverted feeler that is also a sigma, and you're already going to be kind of a chosen person that's on a pathway. It's not for everyone. It's going to be certain people that do this. Most people are going to carry it. What's the story? Most people carry the ark. Few can look inside of it. That's a metaphor. People are looking for the physical ark of the covenant, the physical Noah's ark. These are metaphoric. And if you never understand that, you don't realize that they are mentally interactive teachings that help us heal. That's a tough thing. Remember, the Bible is what my brother used to decide that if he took his life, he would instantly appear in heaven and everything would be okay. I had a lot to break through to get to where I am with this material. I'm very confident, though, that he's resting in peace, that one day I will, that we all will, and that right here, right now, my interest is to understand what this is and to interact with it for my own self-healing. I was a very angry, hurt child that was going to have a lot of problems in life, and did. Went through some issues, went through divorces, and there was a lot of things that had to be resolved that came from a beginning life that somebody else had a bad life, and they never got it resolved. And they had kids, and they gave them a bad life, and they never got it resolved. And then finally I come along, and I get a bad life, and it's up to me to decide whether or not I can resolve this. They're stuck in patterns. I don't have to be. I can go, you know what? I can escape from this. That is what I want to do. I see where I came from. I see I'm in this. And I see that this material provides me a way out. That this is about me. It's not about the world out there. That's too silly. It's about me. And they're metaphorical. They're not real. The Nephilim represents what acts out of me. The beautiful daughter that's been corrupted represents my early self, my joy that is now, I hate. I don't trust anymore. I've lost those things. We want to get those back through a destruction. Okay, that's how I'm going to interpret it. I don't like the idea that it's not interpreted and that this is not a monotheism. Got sons of God that come down and basically rape beautiful women on planet Earth and create this horrible offspring that God has to come in then and completely destroy. That's what it says, Sunday school teacher. That's why you can't explain it to me, though, because you don't know that it's metaphor. You think it's true. Therefore, it can't be explained in any way that makes you go, oh, that's a wonderful thing. It is not at all. It's a horrible thing. If you interpret it, you go, oh, it's about me. I can use it. It's a wonderful thing again. Okay, what I'm going to do right here is just kind of quickly go through what I would perceive as a plain language version of this if I were to interpret it. That this is basically what it means. And what I've done is I've taken everywhere you see the red, that is my plain language interpretation of the previous verse. So it works like this. When people began to multiply on the face of the ground and daughters were born to them, that is about me. This represents me as I am living life and becoming a more and more complex, a human that is growing up and becoming more capable of thought. Okay, so here's how I'm going to take it all the way through. I'm just going to read the red parts. As we start out life, we start with wonderful inner qualities which can be corrupted later on. And our judged life experiences take over our inner pure qualities. We lose our love, patience, non-judgment of others, and so on. Look at your own life and place it in here. In flesh means living unaware that we are living through our judgment of effect and not cause. In other words, we're watching people that are acting out. There's something driving them, but what we are doing is watching them act out and becoming products of what we observe, not understanding that there's something driving it. So we have become unaware, acting out products of our first life experience. That's as we're just living life, not realizing we need to step back. That's exactly what we would normally do. For the chosen ones, this right here is going to signify the time to start turning inward. Okay, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days. So here we have, these are the thistles from the gardens, the demons that possess us. In short, are unresolved issues that have the emotional power to act out when awakened or triggered. We are now ready to face our early self. The earth represents our experience on earth, or how we perceive life through our experiences, how we've judged them, and not the planet itself. All of the people and creatures are representing our early self and all of the things we will need to get rid of to start over. We have become full of many things. These are all of our judgments. But Noah found favor in the sight of the Lord. Right there is where we're going to transition to the self-healing myth. I have some videos up, but they're in a playlist, I think, that is called Interpretation Techniques or something like that. And that is what we're doing here. We're putting ourselves in the story. The exact same thing would happen if I were to try and create one of my own. I do this one quite a bit. It's a very simple one. What we know fundamentally at some point is that we are having a continual cyclical experience that is painful, that is a result of something that happened in the past that is not resolved. We know that that is happening. We could look at that and go, yep, that happens. Okay, how do I teach people that? You pass it around a population and they go, I don't even care about that stuff. It doesn't go anywhere. So you build it into something that can be a story, a myth. In this case, I'm just going to create a verse. This is how it works. I'm going to create a metaphoric representation of something in my life experience that represents that idea, that I am mentally holding on to something, and as long as I'm holding on to it, I can't escape from it. I can't get free. So I might say something like, an anchored ship cannot sail. The goat tied in the yard can only circle the chain. You cycle around that which you cling to. And all of these, that's like a bats in your belfry, something like that. You're just creating verbal kind of things that are holding a message that if people don't know it's about them, I'm the goat. As long as I'm chained up, I can't escape it. I'm the dog in the yard. As long as I'm tied up, I can't escape. Whatever I hang on to, I can't escape. I'm the ship, I can't escape. You see, that's how they're doing it. That's exactly what's happening. We become representations of those parts of the story. These here are just deeper layers, more complicated. Instead of just being a single item, I am now layered up into a mental hierarchy. This goes into the detail of how these mental, how we came about and how we interact with what there is in order to affect the healing and a change in our life. That is what is at the level of template. There are interactive mental steps in all of these. If you look at that right here, we're not going on the healing process until we become Noah. Right here, from creation up to this, is how we came about all the way up to the point where you go, that's it. I'm done with my life. I'm turning inward and I'm taking charge. I'm done living this way. Suddenly we became Noah, and this corruption of our earlier selves is going to get wiped out. Do you see that correlation? It is, it's a metaphorical story. And it is conceptual. And by that I mean that every story, everything that is there, it's holding a concept. It's not the thing itself. If I need to fast in the physical world, that means I'm not going to consume food. If you interpret it like we're doing here, like, well, this is a spiritual teaching. I'm not a ship or something like that, but I don't fast. It's a mental process. What does fasting mean in the mental realm? It means shutting off what is coming in. All this input is coming in, and it's messing up our lives because our brain just hooks into that. You keep feeding it, it does that. If you want it to slow down, you got to stop feeding it stuff. We need to fast as to the world. That's the concept we're looking for. Fasting is not simply not. If it's not a concept, it means not eating food. If it is a concept, it means something different. If you always put it in the mind, it's always going to mean the same thing, that it's just getting away from things, shutting down all the stuff that's coming in. Okay, so when I say concept, that's what we're looking for, and all of the stuff is that way. Difficult ones are things like sin. Everybody has sin. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and you go, how does that even make sense? I don't like that at all. And for people to say you're a sinner, it's like, shut up. You have no idea what my life was like. I don't even like the sounds of that. They're not interpreting it. Sin is an analogous term. It does not mean something that I stole something from somebody that's a sin. It doesn't mean something like that. A sin is a judgment. A sin is a metaphorical representation of the idea that I have named something. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. That's the Buddha. If we thought with an evil thought, pain cyclically follows us. All of them are teaching that same thing, and this is going to be the same. Honestly, it's the same thing. Jesus, again, conceptually here, he says exactly the same thing. Judge not, lest ye be judged. For the judgment with which you judge will be judged likewise back to you. This is we become products of what we have named in life. Judgment is, I've qualified that in life. That's a sin. A judgment is a sin. You don't want to judge. You don't want to sin. You don't want to say, I hate this. I've got all these judgments up here that because they're emotionally charged, that is what continually hurts me and works out. Call them whatever you want, a judgment, a sin, an agreement. That we are products of our judged experiences, and that a sin is every one of those judged experiences. And if we treat it that way, then we can interact with it. If we go, I'm not a sinner. I got stuff that happened that is hurting my life, but I didn't do it. I was a victim. I'm not a sinner. So there's nothing I can do. I just have to live screwed up. Meanwhile, if you go, you know what? Each one of those things that you're hanging on to, if you call it a sin and dismiss yourself emotionally from the idea that it was you that did it and call it something like a seed in the garden that cause and effect is emerging from, that continues to, then you can interact with it. And we all have sinned. That means we all have judged life experiences and are not living and fall short of the glory of God and fall short of living detached from everything. We're hooked up in it. That's what that means. For everybody has judged life and falls short of feeling free. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Same thing. But one of them is mentally interactive. The other one you just look at and go, why the hell am I a sinner? I just showed up here. Okay, we interpret these. Everything has a different meaning. Everything does. All right, well, I'm going to end this video. Let me know what you think. I remember I was talking to my wife the other day about things that I was told in Sunday school, or when you're asking questions. And she grew up in a different environment, and she didn't have all the questions and stuff that I did. She didn't grow up in a Christian home, but a different religion. And so as I'm describing things to her, I got really into all the questioning and was asking weird stuff, and she didn't know about the Bible and those weird things, and it was kind of like blowing her away that what's in there. It's like, really? It says that? Are you serious? In the Bible? I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. And so I remembered, being a kid and being told all those times, you got to just, Danny, please be quiet. Stop asking questions. Yeah. There you go. What does that mean? That means it's time to move on from that teacher. They're done. They've given you everything they have. That doesn't mean there isn't more. That means that's all they have. Go look on your own. Seek, you'll find. Knock, it will be opened. That does not mean sit and listen to somebody and do what they tell you. That means you go look. That's a personal inward path. When you find the template, that's it. And that's why it's difficult to see too. If people don't recognize it as an inward healing path and want to do it, they won't see it. But at once it becomes very personal. You're not following anybody anymore. What I'm doing here in the interpretation is not here, do this. It's like, this is what I found and this is what I did. And the only way this works is not by listening to somebody tell you what they did. It's by going, yeah, that happened to me too. I'm going to take that path as well. I have to go in to my own mind. That's the only way it works. It's a personal path, or it's a non-path, or it's a box to carry. Yeah, there you go. Let me know about your thoughts below. I'd love to hear some comments. This will be fun. Let's go see what happens when Noah gets drunk and naked in the tent. Yeah, sound like some of my days. All right, see you in the next video.